Hello everyone, my name is Craig and welcome back to You Got Nerfed, and this is a video review of the X-Shot Longshot, a spring-powered pump-action blaster by X-Shot that shoots over 130 FPS out of the box, that also takes full-length darts and half-length darts. Yeah, really cool powerhouse blaster. Let's get into the overview. So for a blaster overview, starting up at the front, there's no end strike barrel lug, but the barrel does twist off, and you can twist it back on if you want. It doesn't hinder nor enhance the performance, so it looks really cool, so why not keep it on there? I'll just twist back on simply like that. Getting down here, this blaster is spring-powered and pump action. To prime the blaster, you'll simply pull this back and let it release forward, and it's ready to fire once. I'm not going to do that because I am not dry firing a high power blaster like this. I'm not going to risk damaging the internals with it by doing a dry fire. But this blaster does have slam fire. You'll see that in the firing demo. Getting over to the trigger here. Trigger pull is pretty standard with most blasters on the market, which is quite surprising for a high powered blaster. Getting down to the grip. Grip is actually pretty darn comfortable and well proportioned to the blaster. Getting around back here, we'll go ahead and go to the magazine well. Magazine well is alright. It's kind of an angled, flattened mag well, so it's kind of finicky trying to put in the magazine in there, especially for speed reloads. But if you get in enough practice, you might be able to. Magazine well is cross-compatible with Nerf mags. But it is included with a 15-round X-Shot magazine, and to release the mag is back here, which is a pretty cool, good spot considering it's a bullpup. You'll just use your offhand, strike the mag release, and pull it off. This is the full-length magazine that came with the blaster by X-Shot. It's 15 rounds, and it even says 15 L on it to know that that is the large mag, or for full-length darts. This magazine technically can go into other magazine-fed blasters, but they don't really lock in, so you're probably going to have issues with it falling out and stuff. Plus, I wouldn't trust the quality, and especially this is already a very, very, very loose follower spring in there. I wouldn't trust this with an ounce of my life, but with anything other than this blaster. But that is that magazine, and to reinsert, you just simply do that. Magazine insertion is pretty smooth once you get the right angle in there. Taking out the magazine, well, this is compatible with short darts or half-length darts. It comes with a magazine adapter right off the box. To convert it, you'll just slide in the magazine adapter, and then put in the included magazine in like that. And it goes in like that very simply. To release the half dart magazine, there's one of two ways. There is a short dart magazine release on both sides, full ambi bro. For that, you'll just simply push that forward and the magazine will drop out. That's a really nice feature, especially when you're doing bullpup and tactical reloads. You could just press that forward, out comes the magazine, and then place it back on. I find it so much easier to do speed reloads with the short darts and the magazine adapter in there rather than the full-length magazine, and it's just super cool and a really nice feature to have. Note that pushing this forward does not release the magazine adapter, only the short dart magazine, and that will only release the half-length dart magazine, not the full-length one. It will not eject it. You have to use this mag release. But if you do want to release this magazine, you can also use the built-in magazine release in the dart adapter. You can just strike it like that and come out. Talking about this magazine real quick, this is a 15-round X-Shot short-length dart magazines that came with the short-length darts. It even says 15S for half-length darts or short darts with it, but it is cross-compatible with Worker Talon mags. So if you have a bunch of those, put those in there, and I would recommend it over these And I would think that it's the same thing with it. I don't have any worker blasters to test this in, or any short dart blasters, but I would think that it would be of the same philosophy as this. I don't think this would fully secure in there. Speaking of 15 rounds, in my firing test, I was actually able to fit about 17, 18 rounds in this magazine. It's advertised as 15, but I could comfortably put in 18 in there and it fire all right with that amount. But yeah, it is cross compatible with other short length magazines, so that's super cool that it does, and that feature works really well. If you want to take out the adapter, you just simply press the normal magazine release and out goes that, and you can put in your normal magazine. Getting around to the stock is non-removable, but it is adjustable. You press this little yellow thing and it can come out. That's the maximum length that you can, but even for somebody small like me, that's a decent length for it. Even pushed in all the way, I still feel like that this is shouldered very well, and I think that it's a great length blaster for this. Any longer than this, and it would be a little bit unwieldy for someone of my size. If you're bigger size, this might even be a little bit miniature. I think that it would actually be still pretty big and long for somebody of a bigger profile than me, but it's not removable, but it is adjustable, so you can adjust it to whatever length you feel comfortable. That's a cool feature. Getting to the access door is a flip down one that you can get your fingers in there if you need to clear out a jam or malfunction. In my testing procedure, I fired a couple hundred, probably a few thousand rounds. I did a lot of it in there. I did not have any jams or malfunctions with that, but that's cool, and it can simply flip up and is out of the way out of it. I forgot to mention that there is a trigger safety on both sides. However, the lock is on this side and unlock is on this side, and it works just how you would think a trigger safety is and what it is for. So if you press it on the lock side and press it all the way to the right side, the trigger is now locked. If you press it inwards to the other side, you press the unlock one all the way to the other side, the trigger now works, right? So if the button's pressed in, that means that side it matches the action of this. So in this case, unlocked, the button is all the way pressed in, so the trigger is unlocked. You press it in the other way, the trigger is now locked. So that's how that works. Cool that the trigger safety is on there. That's pretty darn cool. Getting up back around here, there is a sling mount here. There is a sling mount on the grip that I forgot to mention. Actually, not bad places for the sling mounts on there. Getting up top to the rail, this is a Picatinny style rail. It's non-compatible with Nerf attachments, at least the ones that I tried. But it might hold some like airsoft optics or maybe even some rival optics if you're creative. But these front sights can come off if you want. Careful, they are a little bit loose on here, but the sights are pretty good, a little bit accurate. I think a blaster of this type actually kind of warrants sights, but it's not quite as precise as if you use like airsoft or something like that, but definitely better than the sights on like your elite blaster or something like that. It's actually much more warranted. And the front sight has a little knob that you can adjust up and down for your sight picture, which is awesome with it. That's pretty much everything functional that I wanted to go over. I'm going to mention a couple cosmetic things because I really like this. This actually is part of the X-Shot Skins series and then X-Shot Pro. It's under all of that subset of Zuru X-Shot. But love the paint job and the cosmetics of this. If you cut off the bulb pump thing and look at it this way forward, it actually looks like an MP7 Bloodsport from Counter-Strike. If you know, you know, which I think is sick. I love that skin from the video game, and I love the MP7. I actually do. I love that weapon, and I think that it has the perfect form factor. This basically looks like if a FAMAS and an MP7 had a baby, this is what it would look like. Although this stock is almost looks more like a Scar-ish type stock than like a FAMAS stock. But the priming grip is actually pretty comfortable with it. And generally, I don't like pump action or foregrips like this. I like my hands more secure. Like, that's why I prefer top prime. It's more of a security thing, or actually more of an insecurity thing. I like my hands being close together with it, but this is actually a great distance, and it really adds to the user experience, especially for somebody like me that doesn't like pump action and foregrips. I know I'm a little bit weird with that, but this blaster nailed that, and just the cosmetics alone looks good, and blaster looks like that it performs good, and so far from my testing it is. Another thing that I wanted to know before we go over the firing demo is there's a couple things. One, there is mod potential in this one. If you mod this correctly, you can make this thing shoot over 200 FPS. Out of the box, it's like 130, but I'd seen mods where you could do it like 200 plus FPS. So you can make this thing an absolute beast. So modders would probably really dig this blaster a lot. Also, the other one is more cautionary. I have heard that the plunger tube in this thing, due to the stress and the high performance, the plunger tube in here can crack. Yes, physically crack with it. So be aware, you might have to keep in mind that you might have to go and buy a new plunger tube at some point. I'm surprised at like a few thousand rounds that it hasn't cracked already, but if it does, you could buy one at like outofdarts.com for not that much. I mean, definitely not cheap, but not that much. Or probably there's some modder that probably has a plunger tube laying around. I don't know. I'm pretty sure somebody does, but just keep that in mind. Mine hasn't cracked yet. I say yet. Apparently it is a common issue, but pray that mine doesn't. But I wanted you guys to be aware of that. Watch out for that issue. So with all that out of the way, let's get into our firing. Half-length darts first. The included X-Shot mag with the included X-Shot half-length darts. Fine. Now, same half-length mag, but Adventure Force half-length darts this time. So slime fire. So now switching to full-length darts. This is the included magazine with the included X-Shot darts. .15-round worker banana mag with, hex mag with Nerf elite darts. Lastly, 12-round mag with X-Shot Insanity darts. Oh man, let's try that again. One less dart, I had a jam there, at 11 X-Shot darts. Analysis and conclusion of the X-Shot Pro Longshot. This thing fired very, very well. I only had one jam, but in the moment I couldn't really identify what the issue was. Was it the dart in the magazine or mechanical error? Like, did I not prime all the way? So I'm going to look past it. So I don't think that this blaster really is susceptible to jamming a lot. It just had that one thing that I'm not that knowledgeable about blaster mechanics to really identify that on the spot from just one shot. Yes, maybe one of you do. Please let me know in the comment if you do. But firing, it shot everything that I put through it very, very well. Maybe not totally the most accurate that it could be, but it fired everything very well that I put through it. For some chronograph readings with the included X-Shot half-length darts, it shot 130 FPS, which is really, really good. That's obviously way beyond the elite par of 70 FPS. That's in high performance territory, and that's, you're hitting into the low or high performance velocity, which is still really, really good, and decent accuracy out of these blasters. Next up, the Adventure Force half-length darts, which I bought these separate just for this blaster. 150 FPS. Now you're talking velocity. Similar accuracy, actually, at least from my testing procedure. Maybe you guys tested it a little bit differently and got different accuracy. Even firing it a couple hundred times, I didn't notice that massive of a difference to say that these darts were that inaccurate, especially compared to the other half-length darts. But this one, decent, good velocity. Now going to the full-length darts that included X-Shot dart shot 120 feet per second, which is, for full-length darts, is pretty fast. Yes, that shot pretty hard. But the ammo itself is, I wouldn't trust this at all. I'd almost trust Elite darts more than this X-Shot darts. It wasn't that accurate really at all, but shot with great velocity. And that's obviously, at least for full-length darts, if we compare to 70 FPS, that's definitely well beyond that one. I don't have the chronograph reading for the Elite dart or the X-Shot Insanity darts, but I will note a few things about them. The Elite darts shot at a really high velocity, probably similar to 120 FPS. Maybe not hitting that mark, or maybe surpassing. I don't know. My chronograph is broken. This is from research that I did, and I couldn't find anybody shooting Elite darts through this thing. But it was terribly inaccurate, just as bad as the included X-Shot dart. So I wouldn't really rely on these if you're trying to do a full-length dart, high-performance nerfing. The X-Shot Insanity type darts, this was the one that it jammed a bit on, and I don't know if it's the dart type, but you could see the logic why. But these ones were much more accurate. I think from the eye test, from what I saw, it was actually shooting at a lower velocity, but I'd take the accuracy over that. That's why I like it. So take it as you may. Still a really great projectile type. I love these type of darts. Definitely consider some other waffle head style darts, but also consider these definitely better than the other ones that I put through. That's the chrono data out of the way. Getting into still my thoughts of this. It fired very, very well. And this was my introduction to high performance nerfing. I've been aware of blasters like these all the time, but I've never actually felt one or fired one myself. So this was my introduction to it. And for $30, that's a freaking steal, considering that there's worker blasters or on outofdarts.com, springers that cost like $80, that some of them shoot harder than this and better than this, but also cost like $80, and some of them you have to assemble. At that, I think that this is while it's a Target exclusive, I think that this is still a good bang for your buck. If you want high performance right out of the box, this will do it for you. You get the 130 FPS out of the box. Now, if you're a modder, you probably might like this too, because I've heard that you could probably mod this to well over 200 FPS, which is definitely in high performance territory. That's like mid, if not mid-high velocity. That's probably one of the higher velocities before your blaster, it shoots way too hard to go at normal Nerf events. But you can definitely make this do it. If you're a modder, you're probably going to like, you can make this definitely your modded project. But there are other modded blasters out there, like flywheel blasters, that can shoot just as well as this as far as velocity goes, if not faster. And especially with half-length or full-length dart compatibility with those modded blasters, it can make a Springer not really worthwhile. There's advantages to that, but disadvantages. So be careful of that. But I think especially if somebody is trying to get into high-performance Nerf, this could be a really, and I think is a really good option to try out. But now it's going to be into my recommendation. I'm going to do this before a to buy, not to buy. But my recommendations is check out what else is there on the market, right? Before you just go and pick up the Longshot. There's dart zone blasters, which this does better than even some of the high performance dart zone blasters, but there are also some dart zone blasters that are better than this as well in consistency and stuff. So compare and contrast that. I'm not going to do that here on camera. Nobody wants to hear me do that for like an extra 10 minutes, because that's probably what it would take me to do it. But consider those. There's the worker blasters like outofdarts.com that are going to be far more expensive than this, that might shoot higher or just as much velocity and be just as consistent or a bit more consistent than this blaster, right? So do you have a bigger budget that you would gravitate towards a worker blaster than this one? And if that is you, maybe this blaster isn't for you, unless if you want to mod it for that. And that's completely fine. That's not saying that this blaster is bad at all. It's just saying that, especially when it comes to competitive Nerf and high performance blasters, there's a lot of options out there. So be aware of that. But a lot of those blasters are very expensive and could draw consumers away and look for a different brand. And also, we talked about modded blasters. With it, some modded blasters can just make this thing obsolete. But I still think that it has a good place in it. Like some flywheel blasters, you can make it shoot insanely hard and well mechanic with both short and long darts, and it could be better than this. Now, is there advantages to running a Springer? Yes. But I think that's the reason that you have to really think about this blaster before you buy it, and that's what I'm going to recommend. Something I forgot to mention that's very minuscule, but I thought I'd bring it up, and I forgot to do it earlier. Don't want to do another take of this video. The slam fire on this blaster works really well, however it is pretty slow, so that's why I kind of glossed over it. Hey, it has slam fire, but is it exceptional? No, but I really like that there's slam fire in this blaster. I think that was a nice addition to it. A lot of blasters, especially high velocity or high capacity blasters, probably always should have slam fire, but I kind of glossed that over. I thought I'd still mention that. So to my buy or not to buy personally, if I had to say one of these, I would say definitely go check out this blaster. But again, take those recommendations that I made into consideration before you do it. But then again, it also costs $30, so you're not down that much. But if you're like a younger person with probably not that much of a budget, even $30 might be a bit much for you. But it could be worse, right? So I definitely would recommend checking out this blaster. This is by far the best blaster that I've tried so far. Has its ups and downs, but I really like it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. My name's Craig. I'll see you guys in the